One stormy Sunday morning, a desperate crowd filled the massive hall of Salvation Ground Ministries. Whispers coursed through the rows as they raised their neck to catch sight of prophetess Angela, popularly known as Madam See It All. Some said she could pierce through a person's soul, revealing secrets no one could ever know. Others swore she had the power to speak directly with God. But today, something unsettling hung in the air. Just then, a scream echoed from the side of the hall. A lady named Shioma, one of Madam See It All trusted aides, rushed to the front, wide eyes and shaking. She did it again. Mama healed a crippled man. The congregation erupted in cheers, but Faith, a quiet church member who had attended for months, noticed something strange. She had seen this very so-called crippled man walking around the market just days before. Doubt clung at her heart, but who would believe her? Madam See It All was powerful and untouchable. Her followers would fight to protect her. Years back, Angela had been a simple girl from a humble home, God-fearing family. Her parents raised her to be honest, devoted, and to walk in the light. She was the shining hope of their church, leading Sunday school, organizing prayer meetings, and singing in the choir. Everyone adored her, and some even said she was destined for greatness. But no one foresaw how paths would twist in such a dark direction. Years later, after struggling to build a ministry without success, Angela attended a grand conference for pastors. There, she met several famous preachers who seemed to hold a secret power. The leader, Pastor Holly, pulled her aside. "You are trying to be godly, but you will never make an impact until you are willing to sacrifice," he said. He talked about a special ceremony, one that will require a significant offering from her. At first, Angela hesitated, but Pastor Holly promised it would grant her the influence she desperately sought. Driven by her desire to succeed, she agreed. That night, she participated in a strange ritual, giving up her chance to ever have children as an offering. The pastors gathered around, chanting, while Angela's heart pounded with a mixture of fear and anticipation. When it was over, she felt an air of power settled around her like a dark cloud. She couldn't explain it, but something had changed. After returning from the conference, Angela's fortune began to shift. People started flocking to her service, and soon the entire country heard of Mama See It All. Her church began filling up with new members from every corner of Nigeria and beyond. Her fame grew, and with it, her wealth. But this was only the beginning. Unknown to her followers, prophetess Angela, the woman they worship as Madam See It All, was far more than just a deceitful prophetess. Beneath her human exterior lay an ancient, sinister secret. She was a half-human, half-serpent, a hybrid of darkness, whose origin traced back to a mysterious underwater covenant she had entered after joining the cult. Every midnight, she would disappear from her luxurious mansion, leaving the world of mortals behind. In the dead of night, she would shed her human form and transform into a creature with scales as dark as midnight. This transformation marked her journey to the underwater kingdom, where her true color Allergies lay. Angela would slip silently into the river behind her mansion, vanishing beneath the water as if swallowed by the very earth itself. There in the deep, she would join her occultic brothers and sisters, other pastors and prophets who had pledged themselves to the marine kingdom. For Angela, this was where she drew her power, the marine queen, an imposing figure with serpentine features, bestowed upon her strength, vision, and the ability to see into the life of her followers. But there was a price for this power: her soul, her humanity, and perhaps most disturbing, her womb. Angela's sacrifice to the marine kingdom had left her barren, a trade she had willingly made to gain authority and influence in the physical world. Back in her church, no one suspected a thing. To them, Angela was a holy prophetess, and they were unaware of her midnight disappearance. Her congregation continued to grow as people flocked from far and wide, desperate for miracles, healings, and deliverance. Those who sought her favor were willing to pay any price, from cash offering to livestock and even precious family heirloom. Angela's ministry had become a relentless machine, swallowing people's wealth and hope alike. Within months, she began implementing strange new practice. Each member was handed a mirror, which she called the mirror of life. This mirror, she would say in a commanding tone, is blessed by the Almighty Himself. Every morning, look into it, speak to it, and you will see the part of your spirit that needs healing. Her congregants cherished this mirror, believing they were on a path to spiritual growth. But in reality, the mirror were tools connected to the marine worlds. Through them, Mama would pierce into their lives, studying their weakness, secrets, and fears. One Sunday, Mama called a young woman named Hannah to the front. "Last night, you argued with your husband about his job, didn't you?" she said, a slight smile crossing her lips. Hannah gasped. "How did you know?" The congregation erupted into a frenzy, marveling at Mama's ability to know every detail of their lives. In truth, she had used her mirror to summon Hannah's spirit in the night, before gathering all she needed to make the revelation sound divine. The church soon introduced holy water and miracle oil, bottled with simple label, but sold as exorbitant price. Angela would wave her hand over the items, claiming they will cure any sickness, fix any marriage, and even bring financial blessing. When Faith saw a struggling mother give her last savings for a tiny bottle of miracle oil, she clenched her fist as suspicion deepened. The next Sunday, Angela's voice echoed through the church as she scanned the congregation with piercing eyes. Her gaze landed on a young man seated in the middle row. His name was Benga, a quiet, newly returned graduate who had just come back from overseas with his mother. They had heard of Madam C-Hit-Hall and a supposed divine revelation and thought it is wise to seek a blessing. Angela's face lighted up as she beckoned Bengas forward. "Young man, please come forward." Benga hesitated, but his mother nudged him, whispering, "Go, this could be your blessing." As Benga stepped up to the front, Angela raised her hand in what looked like a gesture of divine revelation. She took a deep breath, then announced dramatically, "The Lord has revealed something troubling to me, my son." The congregation felt silent, hanging on heavy words. Angela looked at Benga with heavy gasp, shaking her head slowly. "Young man, your life battery is running dangerously low. I see darkness ahead. If nothing is done, you won't live to see your 30s. Marriage, children, all of that will be lost to you unless you act now." Benga felt his heart began to pound. Life battery. I don't understand. Angela placed a confronting hand on his shoulder and lowered her voice, thickening the tension in the air. "It means, my son, that if something isn't done quickly, you won't survive. But the Lord has provided a solution, a way to renew your life battery to ensure you live a long and prosperous life." She leaned in closer, her eyes narrowing with intensity. "You must make a sacrifice, a powerful seed, something that costs you deeply. For the Lord blesses those who give from the heart." Benga's mother clenched her chest in fear. "What kind of sacrifice, Mama?" Angela nodded, as if she has expected the question. "The Lord has directed me that your son's life can be renewed with the sacrifice of a cow. Not just any cow, but the one that symbolizes new life, strong health, and without blemish." Benga hesitated. "Mama, I don't know where to get a cow now." Angela waved her hand dismissively. "Do not worry, my son. The Lord understands. You need not to go out and find a cow yourself. You can simply convert this sacrifice into a seed. Give the amount and I will take care of the rest." The church has a way to handle these things. You just need to be obedient and trust in the word of the Lord. Benga's mother whispered faintly in his ear, urging him to comply. "Benga, don't delay. Just do what Mama C-Hit-Hall says. Your life is worth more than any amount of money." Reluctantly, he agreed, pulling out his checkbook and writing a large sum. Angela accepted the check with a smile of satisfaction. "My son, your obedience has pleased the Lord. Your life is now in God's hands, and He will reward you for your sacrifice." Relieved but still shaking, Benga returned to his seat, his mother clinging to him and thanking the prophetess proudly. But what he didn't know was that Angela had no intention of buying any cow or offering any sacrifice. As she did with many others, she took the money straight to her ongoing project fund, adding it to the luxurious mansion she was constructing on the outskirts of the town. This wasn't the first time she had used scared static to squeeze offering from her congregation, and it won't be the last. Gbenga's experience was just one of many in Angela's church. Faith watched from a distance, gathering those stories like this. She saw the pattern and knew these prophetics were nothing more than calculating lies to drown her followers financially. She began to find a way to expose Angela's evil doing. Though she knew it wouldn't be easy, she prayed that her efforts would one day set people like Gbenga free, opening their eyes to the truth about Angela's schemes. Faith's resolve was strengthened by her desire to protect innocent life from falling into the same trap. Despite her growing doubt, she kept attending the church, quietly observing. Then, one service, she noticed something she couldn't ignore. An elderly man in a wheelchair rode up to the altar. Mama see it all, placed her hand on his forehead, murmuring a prayer. Then the man suddenly stood up, shaking with supposed new strength, while the congregation erupted in joyous shouts. Faith, however, recognized him from a street market. He wasn't disabled at all. He was an actor paid to pretend for his miracle. Over time, Angela had become one of the wealthiest women in the area, with a mansion filled with gold-plated furniture, expensive cars and personal staffs. She called it a reward from God, but Faith knew that no blessing has arrived for her poor neighbors, who continued to give until they had nothing left. Amid all her schemes, Angela's widened her powers, not only to deceive, but to control lives, even breaking up families for her own selfish desire. She took a particular interest in wealthy, influential men who attended her church, especially those who she sensed could be easily manipulated. If she set her sight on a married man, she would concoct vision and divine revelation that cast doubt upon his wife, creating chaos in the household. During one particular scandalous service, Angela singled out a successful businessman named Mr. Okoye. She called him to the front of the congregation, dramatically raising her hand as through receiving a divine message. "Brother Okoye," she declared, "the Lord is showing me a troubling vision. A dark cloud surrounding your household. Someone close to you, someone you trust deeply, is working against your blessing." As expected, Mr. Okoye looked alarmed, his eyes widened with shock and fear. "Prophetess, who could it be?" he asked, desperately, eager to protect his fortune and his family. Angela leaned in, lowering her voice to a solemn whisper. "It is your wife. I see her spirit entangled in a web of envy and greed, blocking your breakthrough," she added. "But fear not. Mama See It All is here to help you. With my special guidance, I can break this curse." Over time, Angela convinced Mr. Okoye that his wife's supposed negative energy was the reason for his business struggling. She encouraged him to distance himself emotionally, assuring him that deliverance would come if he followed her instruction. What she didn't tell Mr. Okoye was her real motive. She intended to draw him closer to him, knowing he was vulnerable. She began sending him private messages, inviting him to special prayer sessions at her mansion, under the pretext of purging the spirit of his wife's bad influence. This session, however, soon took a different turn. Angela's manipulated Mr. Okoye, feeding him flattering words and assuring him of a life filled with blessing if he would satisfy her desire. In no time, Mr. Okoye found himself entangled in an affair with Angela, confused that his loyalty to her would bring him divine favor. This pattern repeated with other wealthy men in the congregation. Angela sowed seed of doubt between husband and wife, breaking up families for her own gain. Faith, the young woman who had been investigating Angela, grew increasingly disturbed as she learned of this manipulative tactic. This wasn't just spiritual deception. It was a web of lies that destroyed families and torn relationships apart. Angela's actions were beyond sinful. They were predatory. Another unsettled practice was that Angela claimed she would bless any jerrycan of water, transforming it into a holy remedy for all problems, illness, financial troubles, for a fee. People would leave their jerrycan of water in her office for prayers. Behind closed doors, Angela would simply pour a pack of salt and sugar into each jerrycan, saying, "Now take this water home and drink from it each day." The salt and sugar created a slightly change in taste, fooling congregants into believing the water was truly blessed. One evening, Faith overheard a conversation between two of Angela's closest aides, Festus and Lola, discussing the jerrycan trick. Can you believe they are paying that much just for a dash of salt and water? Lola laughed, shaking her head. Faith felt a surge of fear but stood her ground, her heart filled with the courage to see her mission through. She knew Angela's days of deception were numbered. The truth was out there, ready to be revealed, and there was no turning back now. One another fateful night, driven by a mixture of curiosity and courage, Faith decided to follow Angela. She waited in the bush near the river behind Angela's mansion, clutching her phone tightly, hoping to capture whatever dark secrets lay behind. As the clock struck midnight, Faith saw Angela emerge from her mansion. She moved gracefully towards the river. She stepped almost gliding across the ground. Faith's heart raced as she watched Angela at the river bank. The prophetess looked up at the sky and began chanting in a strange language, one that sounded ancient and unsettling. Then, before Faith's very eyes, Angela's form began to change. Her skin shimmered and scales emerged as her legs melded together. Her eyes glowed as she slid slightly into the water, disappearing beneath the surface with a splash. It gasped, barely able to process what she had seen. She realized then that Angela was not just a fraud. She was something beyond human, something malevolent. Faith stormed back, her mind racing. The truth was more terrifying than she could ever imagine. Angela wasn't mere deceiving her congregation. She was manipulating them with the power that seems from the depth of a dark occultic world. The next morning, Faith returned to the church, her spirit heavy but resolved. She knew now that her mission was not just to reveal Angela's fraudulent practice, but to expose the dangerous force she was harassing. But Angela, aware of Faith's growing suspicion, took notice. Her piercing gaze lingered on Faith during the service, a smile as sharp as a blade. During the altar call that day, Angela announced that she had a special blessing for one person in the congregation who was called to serve a divine mission. She fixed her gaze on Faith, who froze as Angela called her forward. Faith came forward. Angela's voice was smooth but laced with an undertone of menace. "The Lord has shown me that you carry a heavy burden. Come, let Mama see it all. Lift it from you." Faith's heart pounded, but she stepped forward, not wanting to reveal her fear. As Angela laid a clothed hand on her forehead, Faith felt a chilling sensation run through her body. She heard Angela whispered in her ear, "You are treading dangerous water, my child. Be careful, for some secrets are not meant to be uncovered." Faith swallowed hard, but refused to back down. She couldn't continue her mission to expose Angela, but she knew the stake higher than she had imagined. There was no turning back now. Faith's courage became her guiding light as she continued to gather evidence against Angela. With every passing day, she covered more layers of dispersion and dark manipulation, confirming that Angela's reach went beyond the church. It was now clear to Faith that her mission was about more than just exposing Angela's lies. It was about freeing innocent souls bound by Angela's seamstress practice. When Faith finally released her gathering recording, photos and testimonies to the media, the world was shocked. Reports spread like wildfire, exposing Angela's deceitful miracles, stage healings and cultist connection. Congregants who had once reviewed her new reels with disbelief, feeling betrayed by the person they once called Mama See-It-All. Many wept openly, murmuring the years and money they had poured into her ministry, only to realize it had all been a careful ostrich illusion. In her final address to the church, Faith spoke to the congregation, offering word of wisdom. "My brothers and sisters, this experience has taught me something crucial. Just because someone called themselves a prophet or a servant of God doesn't mean they are. Be disconcerted and vigilant, seeking the truth beyond appearances. Not every church or prayer house represents God's light, and not everyone who claims to be a pastor is genuine." Faith went on to remind everyone that while Angela's story had cast a dark shadow, it didn't mean all spiritual leaders were deceitful. There are true servants of God, men and women, who took tirelessly in humility and sincerity to bring God's love and truth to his people. They don't ask for wealth or demand strange sacrifice. They simply live in a way that reflects the goodness and mercy of the Almighty. Thank you for watching. Please, if you enjoyed this story, consider liking, commenting your thoughts, and subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much, and see you in my next video.